Okay, in this video we're going to have a quick look at converting improper fractions to mixed numbers. Okay, remember, by improper fractions what we mean is a fraction where the numerator, the top number, is bigger than the denominator, the bottom number. Okay, so we're going to start off with a fairly straightforward example, then we'll get progressively harder. Hopefully your understanding will increase as we go along. Okay, so the first fraction we're going to look at is a really straightforward one, and that is 3 halves. Okay, now there's a couple of ways you can think about this, and I'll show you the way I think is most beneficial. It's always worth remembering that this can be written as a division, okay, as the top number divided by the bottom number. Okay, that's another way of writing this fraction. So you can always think of this as 3 divided by 2, which you should be happy is 1.5. Okay, now this here is expressed as a decimal. We want to express it as a mixed number, so we're going to have to think about it slightly differently. Let's have a look. So essentially we need to know how many whole parts are there and what is left over. Okay, so what I'm going to look for is how many times does 2 go into 3? Well, the closest number to 3 in the 2 times table is 2. Okay, so you can think of this as 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2. Okay, well 2 over 2 is 1. Okay, anything divided by itself is 1. And then we've got an extra half. So this can be expressed as 1 and 1 half. Make that one a little bit bigger. So you can see that these two are the same. And the way I thought about this is how many times does this number fit into that number? And that goes up here. And then what is left over goes up here. And then you can rewrite this as a whole number, and this will be your fractional part of your mixed number. Okay, so that is what we mean by a mixed number. Okay, I'm going to run through a couple more examples. So we want a whole number part and a fractional part. Let's have a look at another example. So we're going to have 31 over 10. Okay, now remember we can think of this as 31 divided by 10. What we're going to look for is the closest multiplication, the closest multiple of 10 to 31. That would be 30. But we don't want to forget this extra 1. Okay, now we know that how many times does 10 go into 30? Well, it goes in 3 times. And we have this 1/10 left over. Okay, this is where I want you to look at how I would do this for harder numbers. Okay, so we're going to look at how many times 10 goes into 31. Okay, so we're going to basically carry out the division, but we're not going to go until we get decimals like this. We're just going to stop as soon as we get to that decimal point, because this here, expressed as a decimal, converting that into a fraction can be done, but there's a quicker way of doing it. So let's have a look. We're going to do how many 10s go into 31. So we know 10s go into 3 0 times. 10s go into 31 3 times. Okay, here the remainder is 1. So going back to primary school maths, you would write 3 remainder 1. Okay, this number is going to be your whole number, and this number is always going to be that top number. Okay, so you can think of it as a division, and then the remainder is always going to be the numerator of the fractional part, and the whole number you get is going to be the whole number out the front of that. The denominator will be what you started with, and you can also look to see, can you simplify this fraction on its own, and 1/10 is as simple as it will go. So let's have a look at another example. This time we're going to have 77 over 5. 77 over 5. So I'm going to go straight to this method. Let's think. We want to do how many 5s go into 77. So I'll do a little bit of side working. We've got 5s into 77. Okay, I'll put my decimal here so I know where to stop. So how many 5s go into 7? Well, that's 1 with a remainder of 2. Now, how many 5s go into 27? That is 5 with a remainder of 2. So I'm going to write it like this. And remember, this is your whole number part, and this is what goes over. That's the numerator of your new fraction. So you can think of this as 15 and 2 fifths. Okay, so again, this number here is your whole number part. This number here is your numerator, and your denominator has stayed as 5. Let's have a look at one last example. Okay, we're going to have 197 thirds. Okay, let's do side working. So we're going to do how many 3's go into 197. So how many 3's go into 1? Does not go with a remainder of 1. How many 3's go into 19? Or 18 is the closest, so that's going to be 6 with a remainder of 1. How many 3's go into 17? 15 is the closest, so that's going to be 5 with a remainder of 2. Okay, so 197 over 3 is going to be the same as 65 and 2 thirds.